A lot of commentary coming in from both US as well as China, Japan, trade negotiations on the table for many countries. Let's try and understand what the world order is looking like as we step into trade this week. And who better than consulting editor Itina Swaminathan Aiyar joining in on the show as always. Swami, good morning. Thanks for your time as always. Just scratching our heads and wondering where this is all headed, because now Trump says that he's got everybody on his priority list, stating that he's very confident on a trade deal with EU and will make a good deal with China. Does one look at this as a U-turn? And more importantly, will anything even come out of these trade negotiations?
Well, you can say anything, but actions are usually more important than what people say. The biggest action in this last week has been China announcing significant curbs on the export of rare earth minerals, which are very important for the auto industry. Now, the details are not fully in, but there are already a large number of ripples going right through the auto industry, right across the world. It could affect India as well. We do not yet know the precise details of the curbs. Obviously, everything is going to be licensed now much more strictly as far as the exports are concerned, but whom it will affect and to what extent we don't know. But among other things, this will affect, it is not as though China will be targeting just the USA. There will be some statements on, you cannot re-export to the USA, but everybody knows that re-exports are done. But I think what's really going to happen is they will say we will have plenty for our own companies in China. We will have plenty for Chinese companies operating in other countries. And for the others, you can see a fall. And that is causing a number of Europeans in Japan quite a lot of concern. But as I said, let us see how far that goes. But what it does show is that China has not backed down. Far from backing down, China is saying, okay, if you want to take me on, I also have ways of taking you on. The list of rare earth minerals is not comprehensive yet. There are still 3 or 4 minerals they have left out. And if they want to tighten the screws, they can tighten on that as well. So I would say that, China has made it clear that you are not going to shake us down. If that is the case, I think that will then give a certain amount of backbone to all the others. Japan will also say, look, I'm not just going to lie down and wait for you to stamp all over me. The EU is going to do the same. But I would say that, there is a 90-day pause. And after the fantastic storms that we had for 2 weeks, now there is a lull. Some people will say, go to the beach and enjoy your 90 days. Come back when we are closer to the 90-day limit. And that's when the storms will break open again. So as I said, at this point, it is still too early to say. I would simply say that the main thing now I say is that if China is going to stand up and talk back, this will stiffen the spine of Europe. This will stiffen the spine of Japan. I would not imagine that we are going to have a nice, neat conclusion when the 90 days are over. I think there's a lot of messy stuff yet to come. And, markets change in a jiffy up and in a jiffy down. So I think we'll see a fair amount of optimism. Markets are driven by fear and greed. They were driven by fear for the first 2 weeks of April. I think there's now going to be a period of greed, and maybe things will look better from that point of view. But as I said, the 90 days will not last forever. The longer term thing is important. Let us see how it goes.
Swami, hi, good morning. Just wanted to understand that how do you see India placed in this whole context of the tariff trade war? Because the other voice, or the other opinion rather, that is getting louder, that is India is currently better placed to gain from the supply chain reallocation. And the point you were touching upon autos, now the report suggests that even Tesla is actually looking towards India to chip in with integral parts supply chain. But help us understand that how do you see this picture shaping up?
I would say it's too early to say because we don't know what is going to happen. Mr. Trump changes his mind every third day. The Chinese have not announced in totality what kind of squeeze they are going to put on rare earth metals. And if the Chinese really put the squeeze, I mean, we will be affected like everybody else. It is true. I think that right now what you have seen is almost a move from safe havens towards emerging markets. Emerging markets have actually done better than the USA in the recent times. And perhaps it just shows that there is a certain amount of resilience built into the system. India is a resilient country. India will be less badly hit than several others. But let us see the totality. We don't yet know how far it's going to go. I would expect that at the end of the day, India will be among the countries that will come out better than the others. But as I said, if you yourself are going to suffer a big hit, it is not such a great compensation that others are being hit even more. It would be much better if we had a happy fallout than, from what I see, that the trade war has been paused. It is very far from over, and we have no idea how messy it's going to get. I am quite sure Mr. Trump is not going to be happy with the situation where the Chinese hold firm and others give way. I mean, the aim of his entire game plan was not to hit his own allies. The game plan was to hit China, the foe. If you can't bring China to heel, to have got some concessions from the others, it is not going to mean a great revival of American manufacturing. So as I said, long way to go yet, but let us enjoy the 90-day pause.
Absolutely, Swami. Let's enjoy the 90-day pause. Hopefully there will be no complaining. But yes, the trade war is just paused as of now, and it's not come to an end. But apart from the entire fact that Trump is talking about the trade war, the commentary coming in and day out, and here China is not actually bending backwards at all, because this morning also the statement of coming in from the Chinese ministry also indicated the fact that they won't take it down pretty easily. But apart from that, you also have Trump's comment now coming in for Fed Chair Jerome Powell, where he's actually gone back again with his rhetoric of how he wants him dismissed.
Yes, well, Mr. Trump's dissatisfaction with Powell is not exactly news. He has been urging him from the very start that, cut. Why are we not going further? We must go much further. All I will say is that Mr. J. Powell surprised nobody. And it is not even news to say that if Mr. Trump is going to threaten all these tariffs, surely inflation is a very, very big danger ahead. And if inflation is a big danger ahead, this is not the time for the Fed to be aggressive in cutting rates. So Mr. Trump may not like it, but the question is, how much further can he go on this? Will he actually seek to sack Mr. Powell? I do not think so. I think he's putting pressure on Mr. Powell from outside. But at the end of it all, I think Mr. Powell will want to be remembered as a Fed chairman who stood up to some populist bashing, not as somebody who gave in to populist bashing. So Mr. Powell has his own future to think about. And in those circumstances, I do not think he is going to give in to Mr. Trump's urgings unless we see that at the end of the 90-day pause, Trump is not really raising tariffs by very much more than so far. But let us see. I think it would be too optimistic to conclude that that is going to be the real outcome. But as of now, Mr. Trump is trying to put pressure on Powell as before. And Powell, I think, definitely is going to be looking out for his place in history. Last thing he wants to know is the man that was knocked over by Donald Trump, who I think in the financial world is still regarded as, I'm afraid, a clown.
Right. But Swami, will he bow down, Powell that is, and will he give in to the rate cut expectation and hope? And will that really solve the problem? Oh, we seem to have snapped that line. No, actually, Swami is back. Can we go across to him?
Oh, I didn't get that.
No, Swami, I was just wondering that, will Powell actually give in to what, Trump wants, a rate cut? And will that really help resolve the issue of inflation to begin with?
No, why should Powell give way? As I said, Powell is a professional and he has his particular reputation online. He is not interested in satisfying Trump, except at the margin, maybe. But beyond that, when you have this kind of crude bashing again and again and again, any sensible person on the monetary side will know that this is not the time to go for aggressive cutting of interest rates, because we do not know what is going to happen to inflation with all these threats of tariffs. Now, if the threats of tariff go away, suppose Mr. Trump says, I am changing my mind. We are going to abandon those high tariffs that we were talking about. If he says that, then it's possible that Powell will change. But until such time as it's quite clear that there are not going to be tariff increases, I do not think any Fed chairman, Powell or anybody else, nobody will say that we will cut it aggressively. And I would say, whatever has happened, please remember that, while you have paused for 90 days, you have not paused a 10% general thing. You have not paused 25% steel, aluminum, autos. So there is already a very significant amount of potential inflation already with us, even apart from what may happen after 90 days. And please remember, he has also threatened to increase tariffs on semiconductors and on pharmaceuticals. In these two cases, they are saying instead of a broad brush, we will be much, much more selective on which drug or on which particular semiconductor item. So it's taking a little longer, but let nobody think that the tariffs are over. Until such time as the tariffs are not over, I think nobody can expect any aggressive cutting of Fed rates.
All right, Swami, so good to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us and sharing your opinion on the latest, what's been happening across the globe with related to tariff wars, etc.